Hey, what's up, everybody? The Iceman here on Iceman's Return YouTube channel this Sunday morning. A beautiful day out. I think we're going to hit 60 something today, finally here in Hartford. Um, you know, so it's a good Sunday. Red Sox and Yankees play their third of the three tonight on ESPN. Red Sox won the first two in New York. The Celtics right now are in the playoff spot with a couple games left to play, which is good for my Boston teams. And this video is going to be the topic of Roman Reigns, the WWE fans, the WWE locker room, Seth Rollins, all rolled into one. Because as we've read in the last week or so after Mania, that it was a last minute change for Seth Rollins to cash in. But now we're reading reports that they knew well ahead of time. Roman Reigns going into that match knew that he wasn't going to come out as the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And, after the locker room found out, they were sort of like annoyed. They were a little ticked off. For simple fact is, they actually were in defense of Roman Reigns. They're basically saying that, the fans are dictating what the WWE is now doing within the WWE. And it was never like that years ago. I mean, and the thing of it is, 2 years ago, when you had a baby face go over it and become the champion, the crowd they loved it. I mean, the crowds were always behind the baby faces, and the heels were like always hated and whatnot. And it seems like this day and age, it's like the total opposite. And you know, just like the WWE last year with Dave Batista, he was supposed to go in to Mania as a baby face, but the fans would not accept the fact that he came back and won the Rumble. So the WWE changed their plans. They turned him somewhat heel, and it ended up being a triple threat with Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan, which that's what the fans wanted. They wanted Daniel Bryan to win the Royal Rumble, and they were very, very upset that he didn't. And it was much the same this year. The fans, after Daniel Bryan came back, after this long, long push by the WWE, pushing Roman Reigns to the top of the ladder, once Bryan came back and he didn't win the Royal Rumble, Reigns, obviously started getting booed. He got booed out of the building so much that night at the Royal Rumble. The Rock came out, trying to, settle down the boos and, figuring The Rock with his superstar status, the fans would go from boos to cheers. And it really wasn't until Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns had their matches together, and especially the one at Fastlane to decide who was going to go into Mania as the number one contender. Roman Reigns started picking up steam once again, but as time went on going into Mania, it just seemed like it really wasn't enough, and the WWE just decided because the bottom line is it depends on what city you go to. There are cities that are like vicious on people, like Chicago, Philadelphia, LA, Miami. These cities are, for the faces, they really destroy for the most part. And so the WWE basically, you know, listened to the fans for the last couple of years, and they made last minute changes. And the locker room was pretty upset, and I guess rightfully so, because here is a guy, the WWE. It was well known within the WWE that they wanted to push a new face to the top of the company, and that face was to be Roman Reigns. And management let the fans alter their plans. Now, with all this defense in the locker room by the WWE superstars for Roman Reigns, which they all were backing him up, stating that it wasn't right, it wasn't fair, you know, the management shouldn't listen to the fans the way they do. It makes you wonder, how well liked Seth Rollins is in the locker room, because the fans weren't happy. Uh, that, well, I would say not the fans, the superstars weren't happy that Seth Rollins came out and ended up cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase contract and ended up leaving Mania with the WWE World Heavyweight title. And I think a lot of this within the locker room has to do with the fact that Triple H and Stephanie have just put so much time and effort into Seth Rollins, to make him a top heel. And to be quite honest with you, I think they've overdone it a little bit. I think Seth Rollins gets way too much airtime on Monday Night Raw. I think people are really tired of listening to his opening promos when he comes out, his segments, because he's very, very long winded, much like Paul Heyman is. And, it's pretty much the same thing when he comes out every week. And I think the fans are, just seen really enough. And I can understand why the stars in the locker room, you know, might be a little irritated over this fact because, you just went from spending almost a full year of pushing one guy to grab uh, his spotlight at WrestleMania and win the WWE World Heavyweight title, and you just yanked it away from him like a week or two before Mania, or even if it was at the last minute, and you give it to the guy that you have given so much airtime to, spent so much time with. So I can understand why some of the stars backstage are, probably, you know, upset that Seth Rollins is on top. I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's a bad choice because Roman Reigns will get his day, but you know, I hope when he does get his day, I hope it is at a WrestleMania because that's what the original plans were. Um, and I really honestly think that the authority should somewhat back off um, Seth Rollins a little bit. And I think the booking needs to cut down his airtime because there's a lot of nights on Raw. We'll see him on three different occasions. He'll open up the show with a long segment. You'll see him with a backstage segment, and then you'll see him in a match. And it's usually a match that, how often does he ever really have a one-on-one match and end up winning the match cleanly? Now, I will say this: even his match against Neville, J&J Security played a part in that match. Um, and I think it's about time that really, if Seth Rollins wants to get the stars behind him in the locker room, go out there, do your job, do your business, and do it individually without any help. Yes, I understand the J&J Security gimmick is supposed to be a part and do this, but it doesn't have to happen every single week. I think it's just too redundant. And I think this is what gets the fans, really tired. And, there are a lot of Seth Rollins fans out there, but again, Seth Rollins isn't really well liked by the fans either. And a heel is supposed to be hated, don't get me wrong. But there's sometimes when you see a guy like Rollins come out and there's really not much of a reaction at all. And to me, if you get no reaction, it's like they don't care. If you get booed, like when John Cena comes out and get a mixed amount of cheers, the fans at least are involved with you. They do care because they're given a reaction. Seth Rollins doesn't really get much of a reaction. And I think the WWE should have looked at it this way too with Roman Reigns. Yeah, he was getting booed, but it showed that the crowd was into it. They reacted to it. So, again, I'm glad the stars uh, in the locker room were in defense of Roman Reigns because to me, it's a guy that you knew and he knew was headed into the major, major spotlight. And it was going to be a huge, huge moment for him at WrestleMania coming out and defeating Brock Lesnar. And they just took it right away from him. And I think emotionally and psychologically that could play a big part in the star's demeanor down the road. So he may have to revamp himself, recapture himself and reinvent himself all over again. So give me your thoughts, give me your opinions, what you think. Do you think the WWE fans, and it's not so much internet fans and whatnot, it's fans at the live, you know, shows like the Monday Night Raws and whatnot. Do you think the WWE should listen to these fans on these live televised events, or should they just continue with the way they book things? I just think right now that the WWE um, is not certain. And years ago they used to be. They booked something, they followed through with it, and they did it regardless. And the fans eventually took to it. And I think that's what they need to do today. But then again, times have changed. Like I said, these crowds are more heel orientated. But then again, also these crowds are less vocal. I mean, years ago when you went to an event or you watched a Raw show or whatever, a Raw is War, I mean, the crowd was so loud. There were signs everywhere. Now, when you open up a Monday Night Raw, it just doesn't seem to have the enthusiasm that it used to. So, like I said, times have changed. So, anyway, give me your thoughts, give me your opinions. Enjoy your Sunday, everybody. Uh, Peace out and have yourself, you know, for the rest of the weekend. Have a great rest of the weekend. See you next time. The Iceman.